having two people on the same platform of the People's Democratic Party, the incumbent governor Silva, as well as Representative Saraki Henry Dixon on the platform of PDP, should they be stopped or be allowed to continue?
Yes, I think PDP ought to proceed by way of a restraining order against Silva. Because as an organization duly registered, a political organization duly registered, they have a power to control its own membership. And if Silva, as it were, decides to be against the very flow of current, against the very decision of the party, to go ahead and declare his own campaign under the same party that has disowned him, that has said he is not their candidate, he's just pointing into their eyes, and I think it is wrong. I think Silva is the person who is heating up the polity unnecessarily, and I think that it's part of the system, it's part of the tightest principles that we have seen prevalent in our society that we are trying to fight.
I think some will disagree with you, because he's entitled to a second term in our democracy, isn't it?
Of course, he's entitled to second term.
So we cannot define it or liken it.
I think you are not getting the right perspective. Sorry, with due respect. I think the perspective there is that he is entitled to second term, and he is also a citizen of Nigeria, and that means that he can contest, but he has to contest under a political party, and that political party can be any other political party except PDP, that has come out plainly on air everywhere through their processes, through their nomination processes. They screened him out. So it is incumbent upon him to look for a good, decent political party and show his popularity and explore his second term options.
What if INEC decides to go with the court and say, well, since the court did say, well, they should explain within 72 hours, and they didn't go back to that particular court to give them all of that, any reason, any cause why he shouldn't be part of that, and they feel that the process hasn't been done properly, and they decide not to accept the candidates from the PDP.
INEC has no role in all of this. So INEC has no jurisdiction to say they would not grant approval to a contestant. INEC doesn't have it within their powers to grant approval. What they can do is to receive nomination papers from the political parties, and let it be noted here that 60 days will soon elapse. December 12, 60 days will elapse.
I think that could just be against the PDP in this whole affair.
PDP is ready.
Knowing full well that looks like INEC hasn't accepted any candidate from the PDP in Bayelsa.
That's what I'm saying. INEC has no.
And the date we are in now is December 7th.
INEC, let us make it very clear. INEC has no power to say I accept or I don't accept. What INEC has done is that they are holding on until the court, before whom this matter is, decides, and whatever the court decides, that's what INEC will do.
I think it's a matter of phrasing, because you can say I refuse to accept until the court has decided. That's the word refusal can come in many ways. It just depends on
I just gave you a Latin maxim, a legal maxim. That's there's a presumption of regularity as regards what PDP has done. So long as they did it within the time frame, that nomination still stands.
Would you agree that PDP has committed any goofs here?
No, I wouldn't agree.
So far, so good in the process of.
In fact, I am not a PDP apologist.
You do not think that they've made any mistakes?
I think that they have done. I think for once, PDP has used its internal machinery to the best of within the proper legal ambits. I think that what they did was very proper. It would have been wrong if they had allowed Silva to get up to the primaries, and then they start coming out with one reason or the other to disqualify him.
A legal practitioner was here yesterday, and he did admit that the PDP could have committed a couple of gaffes. Yes. Let's take a look at one. When Justice Kolawole gave them 72 hours to come and explain why Silva should not be allowed to contest, they went to contend his jurisdiction in another court.
Yes.
You don't think that's a goof?
That's not a goof. That's a very proper legal procedure. What they did within 72 hours, remember, they filed some processes before the same Justice Kolawole. However, they also went to the Court of Appeal to ask the Court of Appeal whether the Federal High Court, Justice Kolawole, had jurisdiction or not. It's a matter of right. It's a constitutional right.
Is it regular for us to go to another court to?
No, it's not. You don't call it another court. It's a higher court.
A higher court to determine if a lower court has jurisdiction and not in the.
Jurisdiction is like a key to a door. of justice. If you want to enter into a court of justice, you have to have the key to open that door. And if you don't have the key, you can't open. So if you go and break the door in the name of the fact that you want justice by all means,
you don't think that
that's wrong.
This is just plain calculation, in the sense that, assuming the court had ruled that he had jurisdiction, it's very possible that Silva could have taken his case to the appeal court. So to cut short all of that processes, we went straight to the appeal court to determine if that lower court had jurisdiction in the very first place. It's a cold calculating, you don't think so?
You see, you cannot remove anything from calculations. As Silva is making his own calculations, so also are his political enemies. So also are his political competitors. A lot of people are interested in the affairs of Bayelsa. A lot of people
agree he has political enemies then.
If as somebody who has not performed very well, as somebody who has not done what he ought to have done as a governor.
I think we're taking this whole talk into a different field entirely away from legal matters. Why do you say he hasn't done anything?
I think I've made this comment some time ago. I have visited 16 states with my group, an NGO, for observance to look at what the governors and government in those states are doing with regards to governance and good governance. And I went to Bayelsa, I went to the cliques, I entered boats into the cliques.
What other state would you say hasn't been doing well, just in case they are watching?
No, it is not within. No, it's not within.
We're not talking about the governor. Since now you say you were in Bayelsa and we were able to talk about Bayelsa, what other state is not doing well so that they know that they should step up the game?
No, a lot of states. In fact, if by the time you start going around the states, you would be surprised at the failure of governance. You'll be surprised at the lack of focus of government, at the way government at almost all levels are misdirecting their focus, are using grandiose schemes to both line their pockets and distort the very, very, very intention of electing them into governance. Let's leave the specifics as to naming states that are not performing. Even in some states where you say that the governors are performing, you still go back and you look at some of the indices, the fundamental indices, and you realize that there are failures in some of these fundamental indices. I was in Bayelsa State. I saw for myself. I saw some good works. For example, in the health sector was brilliant. There are some other sectors that were okay, but these were sectors that were managed by people who had the interest of the people at heart. Generally speaking,
I'm happy you're saying this because they wouldn't be spending monies from their pockets, except the governor. The same governor people are saying hasn't been performing well.
I agree with you.
And gives them all the support.
No. You can imagine.
You cannot function even as a commissioner without the support of the governor.
But it has to show that you, as the commissioner who is functioning well, has focus, has vision, and it is your vision.
I think you're just giving Governor Silva a pass mark there.
No.
You say some sector of the place, well, it's fantastic, and on their own they couldn't have achieved all of that feat.
And I'm telling you again,
that means that the governor has his eye and his firm grip on developmental efforts in Bayelsa.
You have 10 legs, and just one leg is functioning well.
They call it priority.
That's not priority.
Priority for the people in Bayelsa could as well be the health issue.
No, in fact, the health issues in Bayelsa at a point in time got stuck because of the performance of that sector. It was realized and it was thought that sector, the head of that sector, was eyeing the governorship seat.
People have always said that if you're not a very intelligent person, all you have to do is identify intelligent people around you, and that's all you need to do. That's all the intelligence that you need, really. So if you say that the governor has not exactly been performing, but he has one commissioner or two who were performing, I think it just goes back to him, because he had the intelligence and he had the brilliance to know that these two people would perform very well in this sector.
I think the ultimate judge of that would be if he contests election on another platform. I mean, if on his own, there are some examples of people who contested election outside of PDP, won and came back to PDP, were brought in back to PDP because of their popularity.